Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and boy oh boy, Tim Sweeney is having another meltdown on Twitter about Steam, and this seems to be a regular occurrence. And before we get into this and the arguments that are being made, we have to at some point, I feel like if you're Tim Sweeney, concede that this is just absolutely horrible optics for the Epic Game Store. Epic Game Store isn't received the best, and just going after Steam constantly on social media, you as the head, you as the figurehead of Epic Game Store, it's just such a bad look, man. It just comes across a idea of losers are focused on winners and winners are focused on winning. Like, remember that saying? That's totally what it comes across as, because it's constantly doing this, and it's like, man, focus on your own store at a certain point and stop taking all of these shots at Steam. But beyond that, let's actually assess what is being said by Sweeney. So there was a user, Ryan Fleury, noting and talking about Valve's 30% transaction fee, it being outrageous, which he argues that it's not, and that others can simply provide alternatives and charge less. And that's the idea of the Epic Game Store. At least that's the promoted idea of the Epic Game Store. What's promoted and what's actually going on and happens behind the scenes, that's up for debate. But the whole idea of the Epic Game Store is the idea of putting developers first. It's a cute idea in theory. It's a great idea in theory. The harsh reality is most consumers and gamers are not going to give a crap about that. They are not going to give a crap about you, quote unquote, putting the developers first, which, whatever that means, if the storefront, if the infrastructure isn't worthwhile, and if it's not offering them something of value. Yes, you offer free games, and that's something of value, and they take those free games, and then they run away, as we've seen over and over again. So Tim Sweeney, in response to this, noted, Steam's rules do explicitly prohibit games from steering players to competing purchase methods, forcing everyone to pay 30% to Valve. Apple and Google did the same until the court explicitly found this practice to be unlawful. Now they don't. So, first of all, yes, you can buy games that are Steam keys on other platforms. Green Man Gaming, Humble Bundle, etc., etc. You are free to do that. However, Sweeney's argument extends beyond that. Sweeney continued, today in the USA, developers are free to steer users of iOS and Android apps to competing purchase method. Apple and Google collect 0%. A store can charge a fee for selling a product. What the court found is after you've bought the game, the store can't force all in-game commerce between you and the developer to go through with them. 30% in junk fees. I heavily disagree with the fact that it's junk fees. They're offering you the infrastructure to buy said content, and if the game wasn't available on Steam in the first place, which what he's saying, he's talking about microtransactions. That's what he's getting at. It's that sweet, sweet microtransaction revenue. And obviously, Epic Games is all about the microtransactions, since Fortnite is their most successful game, and they want to keep that microtransaction revenue to the developer. Great in theory. I think that's why a lot of the gacha games go on Epic Games Store and they don't arrive on Steam right away. Wuthering Waves is now available on Steam, but if you play Wuthering Waves on Steam, I believe Steam will take a 30% cut. But generally speaking, those games come at a delay because ideally you would like to be on a platform where you can collect all of the microtransaction revenue. And sure, Epic Games Store does offer that. But if a game is free, you are saying to buy a game. So, okay, if a user buys Grand Theft Auto 5 and then they're buying microtransactions on GTA Online, they already paid for the game. Shouldn't the developers just get all that money at that point? Which, you know, you can make the argument one way or the other. I think based on the fact that Valve is keeping that infrastructure, they promote the game, and, you know, a lot of these games are free that have microtransactions. Them taking a percentage of it, I think is well within their right. And on top of that, I don't think, if you want to argue that 30% is too much, again, I'm not here to break down the finances, but I don't think that's the end of the world. He also noted, currently there's a misleading community note on this. Yes, you can buy Steam keys off Steam once you own a game. Steam forces developers to use Steam payments for all in-game purchases and pay 30%. This is the practice courts found illegal for Apple and Google. Steam doesn't force developers to do anything. Steam is an open platform where you can abide by their rules and release the games on their platform, but if you want to run your own client, you could do that as well. Most users just prefer Steam, and it's from the standpoint of the microtransactions. I know y'all are so desperate to collect all of that juicy microtransaction revenue, which I think that element of of this story is just getting lost. That this is entirely about microtransactions, because we desperately need to have all of that microtransaction revenue. I'm selling you skins. I want 100% of those skins, damn it. The shark cards, man, I need 100% of the revenue on the shark cards. So, yes, purchase requirements for microtransactions. For any in-game purchases, you'll need to use the microtransaction API, so Steam customers can only make purchases from the Steam wallet. You can learn more about how to do that. And most of the times, you cannot buy microtransaction currency for Steam games through other e-tailers. However, you can buy DLC through other e-tailers. Like, if you go on Green Man Gaming right now, they have Resident Evil 4's DLC separate ways listed on there. Final Fantasy 16 has its DLC listed in there. You can absolutely buy DLC. It's all about that sweet, sweet microtransaction revenue, baby. The sweet, sweet microtransaction revenue, that's all gotta go to the publishers, even though, you know, some of these publishers are doing very wild things for their microtransactions and absolutely egregious. You know, and you could say, hey, Steam's profiting off of these egregious microtransactions as well. Like, whatever. You not getting 100% of your microtransaction revenue, I don't care. I honestly don't care that they have to give up 30% or whatever. And the term junk fee, I don't really think is there. And another user responded, 30% junk fee is a wild claim. Steam provides a service to both the player and the developer. The car dealership doesn't also provide the gas or any infrastructure around gas delivery. Gamers happily stick with Steam because it's a good player-friendly platform. And then Tim Sweeney noted, car makers provide services too. That doesn't mean they get to dictate what you do with the car after you've bought it. Okay, if your car has an issue, a lot of the times you have to fix that issue yourself. You have to take it to the mechanic to get it fixed, or whatever the case may be. I get it, there's warranties and all this nonsense, but for the sake of that argument, it's a disingenuous argument to make when Steam literally offers all of the infrastructure, and it readily provides that to the customer at the drop of a hat. You open it up, you can do everything right on there, and they do act as a middleman, whereas if I go to the Nissan dealership or something like that to get a new Nissan, or whatever the case may be, then, you know, a year down the line, as 18 months down the line, it has an issue, I probably will have to take it to the mechanic and get it fixed that way. If there is an issue with something, Steam offers a refund policy. But again, you're comparing apples and oranges here, since we're not buying cars, we're buying video games, digital video game licenses, as people want to say. Cars are a totally different product, but as far as digital video game licenses go, Steam offers a really great platform. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. There are issues. We just had games with, like, malware launched on there. It's not a perfect service, but it's a damn good service, and it's not on Tim Sweeney to gauge the quality level of a storefront. I get that most people perceive Epic Game Store as far as quality level goes to be in the gutter, but guess what? The quality level on Steam is so high that people want to do the most amount of purchases there. And you want to be developer first? How about you publish Alan Wake 2? And you put it on the Epic Game Store, and then you ultimately put it on Steam as well, so that developer and Remedy can be rewarded, and they can get their game out to more people can be invested into the Remedy-connected universe. But no, we can't have that. And you know what? I never even called for that, because Alan Wake 2 was a game that Epic Game Store fully funded. If you want to keep it on the Epic Game Store exclusive, that is well within your power to do that. However, turning around and then being, oh, developer, publisher first, and then at the same time, Alan Wake 2, a game that I know so many people would play on PC, had that game been on Steam. That is just the reality of the situation. It is not available on Steam, and it's not. I would love to know, you know, how much did Kingdom Hearts sell on Epic Game Store when it was available as an exclusive for what, 2-3 years as an exclusive? Might have even been longer than that. How many copies of Kingdom Hearts did it was sold on the Epic Game Store? And then ultimately, when it came out on Steam, how many copies did it sell? You know, you could say, hey, people aren't giving our storefront a chance, even though it's at the quality level of Steam. And I know Sweeney's not saying that, but the reality is it's not up to you to judge, you know, what storefront is of quality. That's up for the consumer to decide. There's a lot of people that are shifting on over to GOG and getting their games from GOG because GOG has an identity that resonates with people. Now, is GOG going to be a long-term viable option? I don't know, and we do need more viable options. It would be great if there was compelling options outside of Steam that was releasing games and people were buying games. Guess what? They've all sucked. Outside of GOG, most of them that I've used have sucked. Ubisoft Connect is an abomination, and you still have to go through that to get a lot of Ubisoft games. EA Origin, rancid, absolutely terrible. Epic Game Store, how long did Epic Game Store not have a card? Why is it on the customer to give these storefronts a chance if these storefronts are literally terrible? Ubisoft Connect, you guys, that era where Ubisoft games were exclusive to Ubisoft Connect was absolutely awful in terms of people checking out these games. I mean, you can make the argument Ubisoft games are terrible as it is. I don't really completely agree with that, but they ultimately all came back to Steam because the storefronts are so bad and people didn't want to go over on them to buy their games, and that's up to the customer to decide. And if they decide that, that's fine, and they view that Steam offers a compelling storefront. What you might view as a junk fee, that junk fee, quote unquote, is because Steam offers a quality storefront that people appreciate and would prefer to play their games on Steam. If you want to avoid that junk fee, why not make the compelling storefront that is offering the customer something? You can say all day long that, oh, we're doing something for the developer, we're developer first. I hate to break it to you, most customers just don't care about that. Look, they'll appreciate Alan Wake 2 getting made and you backing up the truck of cash for Alan Wake 2 to get out, and that's why I said, hey, I don't have any expectations of Alan Wake 2 to come to Steam, but I do feel like it's a bit disingenuous to be like, oh, we're developer first, and then at the same time not putting that game on as many platforms as you can. Oh, and by the way, you released Alan Wake 2 on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. Didn't PlayStation 5 take 30% of Alan Wake 2 sale? Doesn't PlayStation 5 take 30% of Fortnite's microtransactions? So PS5 and Xbox, it's okay for them to do that, but for Steam, you have a problem with it, probably because Steam is a direct competitor to you. Funny how that works. Also, I just think it's a bad look. Like, you're getting clowned on every single time you're putting out a social media post about Epic Games Store, about this and that, and attacking Steam for whatever reason. Even if it's valid, it's just optically such a bad look. 1 million impressions on this, 600 likes, 837 responses, ratios left, right, and center over and over again. You're talking about Sweeney responds to a user, Michael, 2.9k likes. Sweeney gets 28 likes, then Michael gets 1.6k likes. Like, this is an egregious ratio. That'll do it for me. Let me know all of your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate it if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.